Okay, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to do a bit more work on the truck today. If you saw last week's episode, I'll just leave a link in up there. You would have seen that this happened. Right, over the last 18 months or so, we've this bar's copped an absolute hiding. It's always been in my intention to replace it, but fortunately, when we did do that damage, we actually had a new bar ready to put on it. I'll show you what we've got in a second. And no, I didn't actually do that damage deliberately. Now, I'm a little bit concerned I might have to actually reuse that lens. I thought it was reflective, but it's actually not. It's actually it is actually a light. And usually this brand reuses those factory components, so we might have to do some repairs on the actual lens itself. So I do apologise for the sound. It is quite windy today. There's not much you can do about that. I've tried mics, I've tried different things, but yeah, it still doesn't sort of help too much. But yeah, we'll crack on. Okay, so if you haven't worked it out, the brand we've got for the bumper, for the rear bar, is ARB. They're just mud flaps. So we've gone with ARB, the bar, because I'm happy with their products. I wouldn't say they're perfect, but no, real brand is. But yeah, generally speaking, across the board, I was a bit happy with their gear. It's tough, well made, and certainly built for purpose. Okay, so you would have seen the obvious reasons why put a steel bar on it. Obviously the pros are that you've got that protection and whatnot. It's going to protect your lights, it's going to protect your reverse sensors, that's a big thing. The cons are the obvious extra weight. Right, so we'll pop it up in this box. Now I'm hoping that it doesn't reuse the factory light lenses. I'm about to find out, but certainly the holes on the bar for the lights look the same as the factory ones. So let's just see what we've got. So we've got these recovery points. Apparently they're rated to they're heavy, 8 tons each. So the car will probably snap in half before you break them off. Some brackets there, and little fasteners by the looks of it, and instructions, I'd assume. Yeah, instructions, and yeah, so it looks like it's reusing the factory lenses. So we'll just have to go to Jeep and get some replacement lenses at some stage. Okay, so the first thing we're supposed to do is remove the rear tyre. I'm not exactly sure why yet, so I might just put that on hold. I can take it off at any stage. First thing we'll do is get this plastic bumper off, so we'll have to find the wiring harness, get all the lights disconnected first, and then just unbolt the bar from the chassis. I'm going to cut about the 50 cable ties that I've been keeping this bumper on with over the last 18 months. I certainly weren't mucking around with the bolts they chose. Alright, so I won't lie, that wasn't that much fun getting that bar off, but it is off. Now the instructions were, it's not that the instructions weren't clear, it's just that the instructions weren't consistent with the actual bit. I'd say it's just because of just different manufacturing, you know, Joe Blogs is working as opposed to Jane Doe on the factory line. And it just makes it a little bit different about where the bolts and that seem to go. So, but it's off. Just be careful with your wiring with the parking sensors. Just undo all the, obviously the clips you can, and cut all the cable ties that are attached to it, and it should just disconnect without any dramas. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take all the parking sensors and the lights out of the old bar, so we can put them in the new bar. So we'll crack on with that. We'll get this wire harness out, and then yeah, we'll get cracking on and put it into the U-bar. Now you have to make sure that the parking sensors obviously going back into the same slots they originally came from. Making sure they've got these little seals, and I'm going to make sure that they're calibrated. So I'm going to make sure that the like this connector's facing inwards as per the factory, just in case it makes a difference. I don't know if it will, but yeah, just trying to be as accurate as we can. Right. That's how they go in. That's easy enough. We'll do the other ones. So all our parking sensors are all plugged in or connected to the bar. We'll just do these fog lights next. Alright, so we've got to put the old fog landers in. This is one that's obviously broken. We'll what we'll do is we'll go inside, get some araldite, and we'll this should be able to fix up not too bad while we wait for a new one. I'll probably can't do this one-handed very well, but yeah, you can see what the idea is here. There you go, good as new, sort of. Alright, so the wiring loom's all done. It's all fixed in there. Lights are done, parking sensors are done. It's all cable tied in there, nice and secure. The next thing we've got to fit is the recovery points. So these are seriously beefy recovery points. Apparently each one's rated to 8 tons. Yeah, so that's well and truly enough for snatching off. Although in saying that, when you're snatching, you really can't predict the loads that you're putting under the vehicle, because there's just too many variables: the traction, resistance of how bogged the vehicle is, how heavy the vehicle is, how fast the towing vehicle is going. There's just too many factors, so you can never really know what those forces are. So, but you'd think 8 tons was well and truly enough. So the reason why we put the bolts in like that is just so that when we do install the bar, everything's lined up. So, because you've got the recovery point, in between the recovery point you've got this little packer and the bar itself, and you want to make sure it's all lined up. So get the bolts in first, make sure the holes are clear, and then tighten up that securing bolt. So let's do it. There we go. And repeat on the other side. Okay, so we're having a bit of a problem. So what's happened is, so it has to do with the tow bar. So now you can see here these bolts for the tow bar, they protrude a bit, and they need to be less than 5 mil poking out. And ARB supplies spacers to go on the other side of the bolt to bring that thread back in a bit. But the problem is that the dev tank and the exhaust are on the other side, and mean that I can't get those bolts out from the other side and put the spacers on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt the tow bar back up and then just grind the ends of those bolts down a bit, pardon me, and that should give us the space to put the bar on. Slightly annoying. You'd think that they just design it so that you didn't have to stuff around that sort of thing, but hey, I'm not an engineer. Okay, so I forgot to mention that you might not have this issue if you've got a petrol, because it was the dev tanker that was getting in the way of taking those bolts out. If you've got a petrol, you obviously don't have a dev tank, you just have an exhaust. I think the exhaust goes all the way across the back. So you may have to remove the exhaust. I don't know, I haven't seen a petrol. So, but this had this section here. As you can see, it had these capture nuts. So this was also getting in the way of the bar, so I had to take that off, which meant I had to replace the capture nuts with some just regular M12 nuts. So yeah, we'll just cut these off here, just to protrude so far, and yeah, should be able to fit the bar on, no drama. Right, so that should have me go and put the bar on now. Right, so the moment of truth is finally here. Going to fit the bar onto the back of the truck. Instructions say use 2 people, but I've got 2 people, so yeah. Don't try this at home. Okay, so on the right hand side of the chassis, it doesn't have capture nuts in the chassis like it does on the left hand side. So we've got to use this little nut plate and slide that into the chassis and stick these bolts in. Okay, so we've already hooked up the parking sensors. We'll just hook up the fog lights and make sure everything's working there, and then we'll do the mud flaps. All right, so we shouldn't get any warning lights. The reverse. Beautiful. So that's where the tailgate is. Well, there's stuff behind the tailgate, so yeah, seems to be working all right. And fog light. That's the one we wrecked the other day, so that's all good. Almost can't tell that it's broken. There needs to be a crack down the middle, just fix it with that Aldite. Right, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Obviously the mounts for the mud flaps just bolt to the back of this this little brace here, and then we'll fit the mud flaps up. And that's it, that's the mud flaps on. Okay, so excuse the wind. So the mud flaps are on, and the whole job's done. The only thing was sort of missing, the ARB sticker that's supposed to go there, but it's not a major issue. It's just probably looks a little bit weird that not being there. So the mud flaps are removable. So obviously when you actually go wheeling, you don't want to leave these on because they can potentially get caught if you're reversing, particularly. Get caught under the wheel and just rip straight off. So going wheeling, there's 3 Allen bolts on each side, which you can just quickly zip off if got an electric wrench. So that's probably one thing I'll go and invest in, is a quick electric wrench that'll fit in there. So the mud flaps are a legal requirement at a certain height. I think it's 30 centimetres that you need to have, or no more than 30 centimetres. And they just stop rocks and stuff, or help stop rock stuff flicking up. But I've done 4 windscreens on trips last year, so yeah, and that's just rocks flying around from cars going past the other way. So yeah, if you've got mud flaps, just put them on when you're, in those remote locations. Right, so do I lock the bar? So obviously there's obviously improvement in strength being a steel bar, so you're not going to go wiping out your parking sensors and things like that, and lights like we did the other day. I think it looks good with the mud flaps on there. I think it looks a little bit anemic just here. I don't know why they've left that unfilled. I'm thinking just maybe a weight saving exercise. And if that was the case, maybe they could have put like a plastic guard there or something just to fill that in. Doesn't look too bad, but I think it just looks a little bit anemic when you don't have the mud flaps attached. Yeah, so you got the protection, and you got a bit of a better departure angle now. That exhaust might be a little bit exposed, maybe. We'll see how that goes. You've got your rate of recovery points, so they're 8 tons each. So you're gonna have no dramas with them. They're not suitable for soft shackles though, just hard shackles. So just bear that in mind. One thing I do like about it is now I can stand on the actual bar itself if I want to get up on the roof, which is handy because with the plastic bar obviously would bend. Yeah, and in terms of weight, look, don't think it's a massive increase in weight. The vehicle certainly isn't sitting low at the back, which is good. So I would guess there's probably about 35 kilos, I would say, I think. So just judging by the weight of it, it's more awkward to carry around rather than he's heavy. So yeah. Yeah, so if you enjoyed the video, do me a favour, hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and yeah, we'll see you in the next episode.